Police release more videos showing looting suspects from the night of September 26th.
And this, just into Action News tonight. Philadelphia police investigating two homicides.
What's up, gang? Today, we be talking about 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields. This was a young lady who enjoyed life that was from Connecticut. Unfortunately, one night, she linked up with a guy, and he took advantage of her. Let's get into the story.
An update now on a story the News 4i team first told us about. We've learned the death of Lauren Smith Fields has been ruled an accident. This is according to the medical examiner in Connecticut, who says she died due to acute intoxication from the combined effects of fentanyl, other prescription drugs, and alcohol. Her family has told News 4's Sarah Wallace that the report just brings up more questions since they say Smith Fields was healthy and had no history of drug use. Their attorney says she died after a date with an older man she met on the dating app Bumble. And now her family plans to sue Bridgeport for negligence, claiming key evidence that could have helped determine what happened.
Lauren Smith Fields, January 23, 1998 to December 12, 2021, was a woman living in Bridgeport, Connecticut. On the morning of Sunday, December 12, 2021, she was allegedly found unresponsive in bed by her Bumbledate, Matthew LaFountain. Smith Fields was age 23 and on a date with a Bumbledate, Matthew LaFountain, at the time of her death. He found her unresponsive at around 6 a.m. Immediately calling 911, he started chest compressions as advised by the operator. These efforts would prove to be unsuccessful, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. First responders noted that her date seemed shaken up and in a state of shock. Although there is skepticism surrounding her death was ultimately ruled an accidental overdose caused by fentanyl and alcohol mixing. Many people, including Smith Fields' family, believe that the police department in charge of handling the case did not do enough or conduct a proper investigation. Some believe her date may be responsible for her death, but he was cleared upon questioning. Still, Smith Fields' family feels the police department did not explore her date as a suspect far enough. Some say this incident did not receive as much attention or care as it would have if Smith Fields were a white woman, calling the situation another example of institutionalized racism and a lack of care for black lives. Smith Fields' family organized a protest outside of Morton Government Center, and the detectives in charge of her case were put on leave and resigned. The detectives were reinstated upon appeal of the suspensions. The case is still open and has been reassigned to other officers.
Exclusive. There are new questions about the police investigation into the dating app death of a young woman, Lauren Smith Fields, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace delves into that mystery.
They wanted us to forget about our daughter, their sister, our loved one. They thought they was gonna just throw her away like she was
Garbage.
Amid this family's anguish are emotions of outrage and disgust at how the Bridgeport Police Department has investigated the mysterious death of 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields.
It was careless. It was no concern. There was no care for the family about how we felt, our grief, our pain, none of that.
The I-team obtained this police report of the response to a 911 call from Lauren's apartment on the morning of December 12th from a white male identified as Matthew LaFountain. The investigator notes he was trembling and visibly shaken. LaFountain said they met on the dating site Bumble, began drinking shots of tequila, and Lauren became ill. That later they played some games, ate some food, and started to watch a movie. He says he carried her to her bedroom and laid her in her bed. He then laid down next to her and fell asleep. He woke up again at approximately 0630 hours, and she was laying on her right side. Blood was coming out of her right nostril onto the bed, and she was not breathing.
The whole day goes by. No police reach out to the family at all.
Her close-knit family says they went to the apartment the next day after frantically calling and texting Lauren and were referred to a Detective Cronin.
They didn't even contact us. They didn't let us know anything. It's crazy. And I'm asking what's going on. He said she met some guy on Bumble. And I'm asking him about the guy. He was like, oh, he sounds like a really nice guy. He sounds like a really good guy. And he was like, I'll call you back, and just hung up in my face.
They say the detective promised to come by the apartment.
never showed up.
The family family says the relationship with police devolved from there. No contact from December 13th until December 29th. They returned to the apartment to clear out Lauren's belongings and claim a new detective came by to say he'd taken over the case from Detective Cronin.
The detective said he effed up, he messed up, he effed Cronin, he messed up, he didn't know what he was doing, he messed up the case.
The family says they provided evidence they'd collected to crime scene investigators who arrived for the first time that day, included a bloody sheet and a pill.
And 2 cups of like drinks or whatever next to a bottle. They didn't take none of that. We seen a condom, we seen lube, other stuff in there, and they didn't take none of this.
Sources close to the investigation tell the I-Team the Matthew LaFountain pictured in this social media photo, now removed, was the man at Lauren's apartment. A neighbor at his listed address in Milford confirmed LaFountain's identity, but we were unable to reach the 37-year-old who has not been accused of any wrongdoing. LaFountain's same image appeared under the name Matthew Thomas, now also taken down.
Anyone that genuinely cared and they were there, the last person there, and they know that nothing bad happened, you would at least even reach out to the family yourself. Like, listen, I know I'm sorry for your loss of your daughter or your sister.
The family's last contact with police was on January 4th at headquarters with their attorney.
What I believe is that the police failed to collect and preserve that environment from the first day.
The attorney has now filed a notice of claim to sue Bridgeport for negligence, claiming key evidence was not initially submitted to the state lab.
I feel like because he's a white guy and she's a black girl, it's just almost like they just thrown it under the rug.
That night she was silenced, so now we are her voice. But we're here and we're fighting for her.
The Bridgeport Police Department did not respond to repeated messages we left about the case, but in previous statements, they've said the investigation is open and active, and that detectives are waiting for a final report from the medical examiner on the cause and manner of death. Sarah Wallace, News 4 New York.
Yeah, she behind. Pull up in the rape this shit. I don't gotta say this shit. Whoa, niggas no! This ain't my greatest hit. Niggas gon' hate this shit. We feeling good. Pull up.
Axel. The story is truly heartbreaking. On December 12, 2021, 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields was reportedly found dead in her Bridgeport, Connecticut apartment by a man she had recently met on a popular dating app. A man we are not naming here as there have not been any charges brought against him. Lauren Smith Fields' family alleges the police department's handling of the case has been racially insensitive.
For more than a year that no one seems to have answers to. The young life of Lauren Smith Fields suddenly cut short. Her family left wondering, what exactly happened the night she died?
When I talk to this family, you know, sometimes the pain is just unbearable.
On December 11th, 2021, the 23-year-old from Bridgeport was with a man she met on the dating app Bumble. The next morning, that man called 911 after finding her unresponsive. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner ruled her death an accident, saying she died of a mixture of alcohol and drugs. But the details of what led up to that are still unclear more than a year later.
I think the first thing it sends to the family is that we don't care.
Attorney Darnell Crosland is representing the family and plans to sue the city of Bridgeport over the handling of this case. He says they're still waiting on public records that might give them the answers they're looking for.
We've asked for 911 calls that were made either from that individual to the city or maybe from that individual to other police officers.
He says their asks have fallen into a sea of pending Freedom of Information Act requests the city is facing.
While it gives us some solace to know that we're not alone, it also highlights the fact that other people are hurting as well. Other people in the city aren't getting answers as well.
The city of Bridgeport declined an interview, but confirmed it has almost 3,000 requests open and pending at this time. Last month, officials announced the city will be implementing a new policy that involves each department handling its own requests to address what it called a bottleneck delay. For Smithfield's family, though, the lack of answers from investigators started long before this so-called delay. They were not notified of her death by police, but rather by her landlord.
That's all we got for today. Lauren Smith Fields, this girl had a whole life ahead of her. But be mindful, ladies, when you meet guys on these apps, make sure that you cross-examine these niggas. Don't just link up. But in the meantime, y'all be good.